Really just vertical grip, M855. Because does this, dude. Hello. With that kind of recoil, you would expect the hipfire to be trash. However, no, it's not. Why does it do that? So hello gamers, it's your boy, John Wick27, and welcome back to another Phantom Forces video. So today we're going to be talking about the top 5 underrated setups. People are always asking me what setup I use on a specific gun and recommending these setups, so I wanted to give some of my own setups. And the first one is a very interesting quirk about the M107 that I find pretty interesting. Also the fact that the grip, like look at that grip. Why? Can you store a Nerf dart in there? M107 is a really strange gun with a lot of very interesting features that are basically only a thing on this specific gun, and it's basically just to get this gun to be balanced. It has a gyrojet type feature, and it also has a weird feature with its optics, which makes it kind of a weird gun to make a perfect setup for. However, I have what I believe to be possibly the best setup on this gun objectively, which is the default scope, the ARS suppressor, skeleton grip, green laser, and no ammo. This gun now has a gyrojet type feature where the farther away you are, the more damage this gun will do, which means that having worse ranges is actually better. And the reason for that is basically the worse range you have, the closer up you're going to do your better damage. For example, if I have a 200 stud min damage range and I lower it to 150 and my gun does 80 to 90 damage, it's going to do 90 damage at 150 studs instead of 200. So you're going to have a better chance of dealing better damage. And the ARS suppressor happens to be the suppressor that lowers your min range by the most. You can also do this with the oil filter, but the oil filter will lower your RPM and it will also lower your velocity. And you don't want that. The ARS suppressor, on the other hand, only reduces your range, also reduces recoil by a little bit, which is nice, and it does the nice thing of making your ranges worse without really any other downsides on this particular gun, because worse ranges are better on this gun. An old thing that a lot of people used to believe is that skeleton grips do not work on 50 cals, and this is mostly not true. However, if you use the 10 round extended magazine on the M107, it will hard lock your aiming speed, which means that regardless of what else you put on your gun, the aiming speed will be exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you use a Heresy QR grip or a skeleton grip, it really doesn't change it. So you don't want to use the extended magazine because you will always have very slow handling, and it's not really worth it, and you get a slower reload and everything like that. I don't really recommend the extended magazine. It's not really that effective except if you're kind of trolling. So yeah, use the extended magazine never and use the skeleton grip instead. And the ARS suppressor and the skeleton grip kind of cancel out recoil wise. Also this gun, if you just aim out, you know, you get the no recoil on it basically. And then last up you have the green laser. Instead of the extended mag, I run the green laser. You could run the tri laser, the red laser, it really doesn't matter. Any laser will help you in hipfire, as well as the fact that the green laser will make your hipfire recovery speed better and your overall hipfire better, so you can hit more shots in hipfire. And ammo types on the M107 kind of suck. They mostly reduce your torso kill or remove it. Oh my gosh, I almost got it. But yeah, overall this setup is amazing. It basically makes the gun like the best gun of all time. Super underrated setup because I haven't really seen anybody really using this setup. Most people are using muzzle brake on the M107, which is a good option, but in my opinion definitely not the best. But at number 4 we have an ECR setup, which I have never seen anybody else run, but I think is a very underrated setup, and that is the ECR with a Mars, ARS suppressor or muffler, stubby grip, green laser, and none. I used to run the Delta sight on this gun, and it was pretty nice. However, there was a problem where after they made the 50 cal suppressors really massive, you couldn't really see your sight. And one of the biggest downsides, in my opinion, of the Mars is that it's very high off of your gun. However, in this case, it's nice because it's going to hide that barrel attachment when you're aimed down sights versus the Delta, where as you can see, your suppressor's clipped into the sight. Muffler will lower your velocity, but it will lower your RPM. So if you want a less spammy ECR, that's pretty good. I do like that, but also the ARS suppressor is really good on this gun as well. It will reduce your range by a little bit, but it will reduce your recoil, and it will make the gun like sound kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. Another option is the compensator, but then that wouldn't really be as underrated of a setup because people usually use the compensator on this gun, and I kind of like the overall recoil reduction of the ARS suppressor. The ARS suppressor is an attachment that has really been growing on me lately because of my Scar L setup, which I will talk about pretty soon. Yeah, this actually sounds really cool, and it does a ton of damage, and this will reduce your min damage range, but it really doesn't matter because that doesn't really affect your 2-hit kill range by a lot, and this gun is not really going to be used past like 130 studs, and the min damage isn't really the best, but I'm going to be real, you don't really need as much min damage range because you got an 80 stud max range, and this is a close range gun anyway. Yeah, it's a really good gun, and the Mars sight works really well on it, surprisingly, because I don't really like the Mars. It will make your hipfire better, but like it's really not that big of a problem. And the downside of it being the Mars sight and kind of looking ugly and stuff is actually not that bad. I don't know why. For some reason on the ECR, it's pretty good. I also use the stubby grip because it's the stubby grip. It reduces recoil. I use the green laser because why not? Don't use remove stock on this gun, of course. And yeah, this gun kinda beams for closer ranges. It doesn't really work the best at longer ranges, but if you're pretty good with trigger control, it can work pretty good. And it's just a really fun gun overall. Honestly, I find this setup to be better than, you know, your average compensator setup. And you gotta keep in mind, I have 1500 kills on this gun. And this is the setup that I've evolved to, which is not a setup that a lot of people really are using. So check it out. It's an underrated setup. I find it really just, it's great. But yeah, ooh, wait. What the f- But at number 3, we have my Scar L setup that I got a 135 kill game with, which is Reflex, ARS Stubby, Green Laser, 9x19. You could also use armor piercing on this gun if you wanted to. You will get a 4-hit kill at any range and have better pen. However, 9x19 is the great ammo type. You get a 3-hit kill, faster RPM, lower recoil, bigger magazine, more reserve ammo. I don't really see a lot of people using the ARS suppressor on the Scar L. I don't think I've seen anybody using it. And with AP, it's especially good because it has no downside. With 9mm, because your range is actually matter, it's not quite as great, but I do really find the reduced overall recoil to make this gun go from very accurate to an absolute laser beam. Honestly, the recoil feels non-existent with this setup. Like, yeah, it's pretty accurate. Even at this range, look at that recoil, dude. After like the first 2 shots, this thing is perfectly accurate. And yeah, it kind of beams at pretty much any range. The velocity isn't the best, but it's pretty decent. The ranges aren't the greatest, but they're really good for a 3-hit kill range. One of the farthest 3-hit killing 9mm guns in the game. And it's an overall great gun to use. I don't know, man. It's great. 9mm is not underrated. I think a lot of people know how good it is, but not a lot of people using ARS and 9mm because it does have downsides, but I just find it to be great. Being suppressed is really helpful for a gun where you're going for 100 kill games because nobody's noticing me up here. Like, literally, they're shooting at other people over here. God. But at number 2, we have a very interesting setup that I've seen and been recommended once before, which is the M855 vertical grip setup on the M231. Now, this setup has some pretty awful recoil, but if you hip fire, it becomes very accurate, as you can see, like a lot more accurate than usual. And this setup actually kind of destroys in close range. It's not the most accurate setup, but it actually makes the M855 conversion a worthy conversion to use. Because for some reason, this setup only works with M855. I think the X-ring is the barrel attachment for this. I can check that in a second, but like, it doesn't really matter which barrel you use. Really, just vertical grip M855. Because does this, dude. Hello. It's the M231. It's a close range gun, so literally just using close range and you're good. You got 100 bullets, so it doesn't really matter if you're kind of inaccurate with it, but I think X-ring is the attachment that makes it even better. Let me check. Yeah, I mean, that helps. Lots of initial vertical recoil, but that's pretty normal. Like most auto guns in this game have the initial vertical recoil, but after that, most of them stop going up at all, and this one is no different. It's kind of crazy the effective range on this gun when you're using this attachment, because like you can actually go for longer range kills. But yeah, at number 1, we have a very strangely similar setup to the M231, except it's on a very slow shooting gun and not a very fast shooting gun. The M3A1 is known for great hipfire and pretty low recoil. However, if you're running a setup such as the highest recoil setup on it, then the recoil goes up to this, which is pretty bad. That is not good recoil. With that kind of recoil, you would expect the hipfire to be trash. However, no, it's not. Why does it do that? To that. And you also got to keep in mind, I'm running skeleton grip, I'm running retracted stock, I'm running plus P, so I'm getting better velocity, I'm getting better ranges, I'm getting better walk speed, I'm getting better aiming speed, I'm getting better swap speed. So I'm actually getting a lot of stuff. Like, look at this aiming speed. It is great. The walk speed is great. The aiming walk speed is really good. Not that it matters because you shouldn't be aiming with this gun, and you're still getting really good accuracy. It makes it a really effective close range gun, and I'm using muzzle booster, so I'm also firing extra fast as well. This setup is underrated because it's actually really good, and it has an especially nice feature of basically if anybody picks up this gun, they lose. Like, they can't get a single kill with it. And that's because nobody's gonna know to hip fire. You know, they're always gonna think, oh, I gotta aim down sights. And they're gonna see the recoil and be like, this is the worst gun of all time. So people can't use your gun. And if you want to hip fire better, but keep all your other attachments, you can use a Mars, and you'll have even better recoil. But then you aim, and it's atrocious recoil. Since you're going to be hip firing, it's really hard to actually get hip fire kills from any kind of range, especially if somebody has any kind of cover. However, as far as close range hip firing goes, this gun is absolutely busted. Like, it's super great, you know? Desert Storm is not really the best map for this, but, you know, I get close range, I get kills. Except that guy. But yeah, anyways, gamers, if you guys did enjoy, that is top 5 underrated setups in Phantom Forces. Comment your underrated setups down below, and maybe I'll make a part 2 with your guys' setups. But yeah, if you're new, please subscribe. Check if you're subscribed. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, no way. 250 studs?